Hey guys, what's up? It's Emily. Just wanted to give you a little bit of feedback on these visual resumes that you guys submitted. So, of course, we are going to be looking for the actual content, but also making notes somewhat on the design and how well it's aligning to the personal brand that you've been developing and hopefully establishing across different mediums, whether that's your portfolio website, your business card, maybe it is your social media, but looking for consistency across those various collateral marketing materials. So is there going to be a connection between the skills and experiences that you've listed and ultimately the job that you want to get in the media communications industry? For example, if you want to get into graphic design, your resume needs to highlight relevant skills and experiences in graphic design. Likewise, if you are into social media, your resume needs to show skills and abilities in that area. So also, if you have identified a gap between what it is that you want to do in the industry and your skills and experience, how can you get that before graduation? Now you guys are in portfolio 6, which is a bit closer to graduation, so you need to be addressing this question with some urgency. Does this mean you're taking on projects that you create? Does this mean that you are volunteering? Does this mean that you're seeking an internship? There are a number of options available, and if you want to know the one that will fit best for your scenario, I'd be happy to have a conversation with you guys about that. What I'm also looking for is not just sort of what you were tasked with in any given position or on any project, but also like what was your unique contribution in that role? How did you do that job in a way that only you could? So it's not just about your responsibilities, but those accomplishments as well. Spell check, spell check, spell check. Any design program is going to have a spell check feature, but spell check is not going to catch misused words. So you need to make sure that there are trusted human eyes on your resume, reading over to make sure that you are using the words as you intend them to. For example, I have many students who talk about their customer service experience, except what they actually write is costumer service. And since costumer is a word, spell check is not going to catch that. So definitely, you guys, I can't really stress that enough. Your resumes are living, breathing documents. They should be, somewhere that is easily found, accessible, designed in a way that's flexible enough for you to add content or take content away. So you don't want to back yourself into a corner of creating a very rigid design document. This is a snapshot of you at any given point in time, and your resume needs to be constantly updated to reflect the cooler and theoretically better work that you're doing as you continue in your career and build up those skills. Wendy Walzer, you know her, you love her, MCBS Career Development Advisor. She is available to you guys within 3 months of graduation, so that's probably about now. If you haven't made contact, I encourage you to do so pretty immediately. You're going to want to work with her on developing a version of this resume that adheres to the standards that she's going to need it, to help shop you around and help you find, a job that speaks to your interests in the media communications industry. So I'm going to go through the resumes that were submitted one by one and just ask a few questions and highlight a few different things. And the expectation, you guys, is that this insight is applied in the next best version of your resume. It might not be something that's as highly visual as this exercise, but certainly, you guys need to be thinking about the next real polished version of your resume, because many of you will be looking for jobs, probably starting the next couple months if you are, aren't doing it already. So let's jump over and take a look at what was submitted. So first up, we have Luciana. Now, I recognize this as the resume that you submitted in Portfolio 3 because I was impressed with the layout and the design. You've done a nice job, choosing this particular look in this template. Now that said, your color profile back then was gray and black and white, and so now, honestly, it just looks like you took a light yellow overlay on this entire thing. It doesn't even look like these were purposefully chosen as the colors as much as you just drew like a big sort of opaque yellow square on top of what you already created. And I don't know if that is truly the case, but it doesn't look as purposeful, and it doesn't look as in alignment with other things that I've seen you create. So curious, I know that you like yellow. I've seen you use that in a lot of different projects that you've worked on, but I'd like to see it look a little bit more intentional. Just kind of taking a look, you haven't there's not too much that's been added to this since the last time that I looked at it. And that was probably close to a year ago in Portfolio 3. So certainly a lot of work needs to be done to update this between now and then. I can see that you have your Hall of Fame, right? So that's in February. What else can you add to this since then? I know that you've been involved on a number of different productions, whether it's through Portfolio Blend or through Friday Blend, but adding more relevant experience is going to be needed here if you want to get a job, in media communications. Kind of scrolling down, you don't need your high school experience listed here on the resume for, applying for jobs in the United States, right? So if you have your college degree, your bachelor's degree, that's going to supersede, and there's the assumption that you have all of the underlying coursework. And that will free you up to actually add more information, right? So like you use this really kind of small text up here, maybe make that a little bit bigger. And then you have a lot of empty space over in these areas that you're not utilizing. Your resume is like your one page to talk about, the work that you've done, and articulate it and highlight it in a way that makes people want to hire you to offer the same kinds of help for them. My concern about only putting, your Hall of Fame work on here is that it's not as easily transferable, right? So like you're talking about, being a host of entertainment videos, but you do a lot of editing work and you do a lot of production work, and that doesn't necessarily translate here. There's nothing on your resume that actually speaks to the fact that you really like and want to make videos and all aspects of it. Here, you're just sort of highlighting yourself as talent, and I think that is selling yourself short, and it's going to make it harder to get a job, right? Because people aren't hiring talent as much as they are hiring people to, do production work. So definitely something for you to think about moving forward. Here we're taking a look at Jay's visual resume. Couple of thoughts. One is this is a great image. I would crop it so that you're a bit more center. Like, I'm not sure about what's going on up here, but I'd like to maybe see it cropped a bit in this realm. These lines at the top and bottom look like sort of superfluous design elements because they're not matching the other sort of aesthetic that you have going on with like the burnt red or the rusty orange up here. The other lines that you have here are solid lines that are thin, and these dotted lines, neither of which match this. So, just getting consistent with that aesthetic. I'd like to see your name not be bumped down to 2 lines. In fact, I'd like you to move it somewhere up at the top, right? So that's one of the first things that we see, this identity of, who you are on the resume. Scrolling down, you have a couple of things here that I want to note. One is that here there's a slight discrepancy. I'm not sure why you're including this in brackets and nothing else is in brackets. Also, these titles of these sections are very, they are intuitive, right? So the objectives, skills, and abilities, we all pretty much know what that means, but vitals is something like maybe more colloquial. Maybe it has to do with your, with the industry. Maybe it has to do with gaming. I'm not sure, but like make a conscious choice to know that this is standing out as different. And like, if that's what you want, cool. But otherwise this stands out as not the same as the others. Kind of scrolling up, the application of these dotted lines is a little inconsistent. Why does it connect all the way down here, but just sort of half connect here? The spacing on this, so like the leading and the kerning is such that it's a little bit harder to read, and the information has the same hierarchy, right? So upsurge has the same hierarchy as the dates, and this should really stand out as bigger and bolder. So I would choose, potentially just to use this font up here for this information, and perhaps you could bold it if you wanted to give it a little bit of emphasis. Scrolling down, it looks like, okay, so you are working at Indienomicon, sorry. And that is your most recent place of employment, so you want to put that at the top. Education, you don't need your high school information if you've got your college stuff there. And then, so you include Jesse as a reference, but don't supply any contact information. So, that's something that, either you can remove references and just say references available upon request, right? And then you could use this space to detail maybe a little bit more about your work or what it is that, you are maybe seeking to do out there in the industry. I don't see your portfolio website listed anywhere. Wondering, about, do you have one? And if so, because you're a video content editor, so maybe you should just be directing people to YouTube. That's something for you to think about, but there definitely should be some way for me to access your work as a creative. Last but not least, we're going to take a look at TIAs. So this is very text heavy, right? So you talk about, being a marketer and, what you've done sort of while you've been working. So you have just like loads and loads of keywords here, which are great, but it's kind of like one gets lost. I'm not really sure what exactly are the most important parts or the parts that you really want to highlight about, what you are seeking to do for others. Here, the way you talk about your experience as a marketer at Full Sail makes it look like they have employed you here. And so it says from January until February of 2018. I need some clarity about this because, did you work for and what department did you work for? And it seems as if this was only 1 month, so that's questionable. You don't want to just show 1 month of employment. I would more so characterize this as a special event or a project instead of painting it as employment, because that, only working for only 1 month wouldn't look that great, but being, asked to work on a 1 month long project is more impressive when we understand that context. So certainly it's cool that you have written all of this stuff about what you did, and it, potentially it's for Hall of Fame, but maybe give me the context to understand that it is for Hall of Fame, meaning that right now the way it reads, it makes it sound like you did all of this, for the university, just, in general. But if you wrap the context of Hall of Fame around it, it makes more sense and then allows me to more fully grasp what it is that you did and ultimately what I could hire you to do for me. If you guys have any questions about the feedback that's been provided here, please reach out. This is not something that you can't not do, right? If you want to get out there and get a job, you really need to be able to talk about yourself and talk about your work. These are all in varying stages of being complete. But even just looking at this now, you have positive attitude 2 times. There's so much here in terms of the word that I don't know what is really important or what you really want me to know about you. Guys, that takes a little bit of work, but it's important work that has to be done. So let me know how I can help.